Senator McCain, what is the most serious concern that's been expressed about this bailout plan?
Well, I think there's been a number of concerns expressed by my House and Senate colleagues. This is very tough. We're talking about the biggest event of this kind in history. There's concerns about home ownership, keeping people in their homes. There's some concerns about whether insurance should also be some kinds of options there. There's concerns about restrictions on CEO pay. Some of them have been addressed, and others, I think, are being addressed. And I'm confident that we will move forward, and I'm confident we will get an agreement soon.
Is one of the major sticking points, Senator, how you're going to pay for this thing, whether it's going to be through taxpayer dollars or private investors?
No, I think some of the biggest problems are about whether loans will be the best way to approach it and what priority that would have, rather than direct buyouts. There's a number of concerns that different groups of or coalition sort of senators and members of the House that have, and I think, however, we all agree on a core set of principles. I articulated basically those a few days ago, and I'm confident that we will move forward. And people realize in the Congress what's at stake here: people's jobs, small businesses, their homes. This isn't just Wall Street, and we have to do a better job of explaining that to our constituents who are, as you know, there's a lot of negative reaction. We have to explain that this affects Main Street, not just Wall Street.
And how do you do that? And how much negative reaction have folks on the Hill been getting?
Well, I think there's been quite a bit. I think we have to do a better job. I thought the president's speech last night was helpful in explaining to the American people what's at stake here. But we also have to do a better job, I think, of explaining, as I think Secretary Paulson has done very graphically, and make sure they understand that if we don't act, that this could have the most serious consequences.
You've been talking, I know, with Fiscal Conservatives in your own party, both in the House and Senate. What are they telling you? Are they flexible? Do they believe a plan will go through, or are they being very obstinate about this?
I think the overwhelming majority of them, those that haven't made up their minds, and there are some, as you know, feel very strongly the urgency that is associated with this, and they are trying very hard to find out with the most fiscally sound way of addressing it, and yet at the same time with the full realization that this could entail, and could, I emphasize, it doesn't necessarily, because it depends on the state of the economy, but it could entail as much as $700 billion, as we know.
If you can't get members of your own party to fall in line, if you will, Senator McCain, will John McCain, the maverick, emerge, and will you buck members of your party?
Well, I'm sorry I need not remind you, Katie, I have taken on members of my party and the leadership of my party on numerous occasions. But in this case, I am confident that we will reach an agreement that gets a majority of my colleagues on my side of the aisle as well as a majority on the other side. This has got to be bipartisan and bicameral. I'm confident we'll do it, and we'll do it soon.
Some Democrats on Capitol Hill have basically maligned your suspension of your campaign, saying this is all about politics, it's grandstanding. What do you think your presence in these negotiations added?
Well, I'm very hopeful that through communicating and meeting and discussions, that I was able to facilitate helping people be better informed and help them make a decision as to support the major provisions, and also to get their input. But look, if someone wants to criticize me for doing what I think is of utmost importance and urgency for America right now, I understand. I don't understand it, but I accept it.
I know you don't have a crystal ball, but when do you think this is going to be worked out?
sooner rather than later, I believe, and I say that with some confidence because I think that an overwhelming majority of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle in both houses are keenly aware of the urgency of this problem, and we have to explain, as I said, these are jobs on Main Street. These are keeping in people's homes. These are the ability to get a loan even for a small business or any other enterprise. This is a severe, severe situation.
And how concerned are your colleagues about the political ramifications of what they do? In other words, basically getting voted out on Election Day?
Well, I'd like to tell you that's not a concern ever, but from what I've seen with many, many conversations with my colleagues today, they're aware of the severity of this moment. And I frankly have not talked to anyone who doesn't have the absolute number one priority, the urgency of this situation.
And tell me about the debate. Tomorrow in Oxford, Mississippi, the first presidential debate is scheduled to take place. The commission is going forward. Will you be there, or can you just not say at this point?
I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful that we'll have enough of an agreement tomorrow that I can get to Oxford. And I would again like to point out, Senator Obama has talked about how urgent this is, and this is the same Senator Obama that refused to go to 10 town hall meetings with me around the country. I hope he will change his mind about those, and there wouldn't be quite this much urgency. But I understand how important this debate is, and I'm very hopeful. But I also have to put the country first.
But the earliest you could actually vote on this plan, my understanding is Saturday. So that does give you some flexibility tomorrow, does it not?
Well, it depends on whether we have an agreement or not. And I think we're well on the path to achieve that. I think we've got to get not necessarily a vote, but an agreement, and there's not agreement yet. But I'm hopeful we'll get it.
Senator John McCain. Senator, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Katie.